A very warm welcome to our esteemed dignitaries on the dais. A warm welcome to the high-level Australian delegation, the IGNOU fraternity at headquarters and at all our regional centers who are joining us live for this program. A warm welcome to all of you. This for us is a momentous occasion. Today marks the launch of Indo-Australian initiatives in 3 program areas. ICT-enabled diploma in primary education, Master of Intellectual Property Law online, and the dual doctoral program for IGNOU's Research and Teaching Assistantship Scheme, or RTAs. This educational partnership has a promising future, bringing together the Queensland University of Technology and Indira Gandhi National University, Open University, in unique synergy. So this is a wonderful occasion for us to engage in educational partnership, dialogue, and to bring together the best educational offerings to a global audience, beginning with our universities. We are indeed privileged to have in our midst the Honourable Julia Gillard, MP, Deputy Prime Minister of Australia, who will launch these path-breaking initiatives. She holds the highly important portfolios of Ministry of Education, Ministry of Employment and Workplace Relations, and Ministry of Social Exclusion. So it is indeed a privilege to have someone heading super ministries, as they refer to it on the net. Thank you for being with us. Also gracing the occasion is Professor Arun Sharma, Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research and Commercialization, Queensland University of Technology, Australia. Joining them on the dais are our Honourable Vice Chancellor, Indira Gandhi National Open University, Professor V.N. Rajshekharan Pillai, and Professor K.R. Srivatsan, Pro Vice Chancellor, IGNOU. And joining them is Dr. Sheel Noona, Director, South Asia of Queensland University of Technology. Let me extend a warm welcome to all of you once again. Let me take this opportunity to request our Honourable Vice Chancellor, IGNOU, Professor V.N. Rajshekharan Pillai, to welcome the Honourable Julia Gillard, MP, Deputy Prime Minister of Australia, with a bouquet. Please, sir. Now may I request Professor K.R. Srivatsan, Pro Vice Chancellor IGNOU, to welcome Professor Arun Sharma, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Queensland University of Technology, with a bouquet. I now request our young, energetic research and teaching assistant, Ifat Beg, to welcome Honourable Vice Chancellor IGNOU, Professor V.N. Rajshekharan Pillai. We have another young, dynamic RTA, Divya Raj, who will welcome Professor K.R. Srivatsan, Pro Vice Chancellor IGNOU. May I request IFAT to now welcome Dr. Sheel Noona, Director, South Asia, Queensland University of Technology. Thank you. I now request Honourable Vice Chancellor, Professor V.N. Rajshekharan Pillai, to deliver the welcome address. Thank you, sir.
Chief Guest of the Day, Honourable Julia Gillard, Deputy Prime Minister, Australia, Professor Arun Sharma, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Queensland University of Technology, Mr. Peter Varghese, High Commissioner Designate to India, Dr. Sheel Noona, Director of South Asia, Queensland University of Technology, other distinguished guests from the Australian High Commission, Dr. Srivatsan, Pro Vice Chancellor of the University, other Pro Vice Chancellors, my colleagues, dear students, other distinguished invitees. First of all, let me welcome all of you to this very important function of launching the Indo-Australian initiatives by the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister of Australia, Mrs. Julia Gillard. Indira Gandhi National Open University considers it a great privilege and honor to have the Deputy Prime Minister of Australia to launch the 3 major Indo-Australian collaborations through Queensland University of Technology and Indira Gandhi National Open University. Indira Gandhi National Open University, established in 1985, is probably the world's largest university in terms of student numbers. This university is also the university which is making use of technology maximum to enhance the quality of the teaching learning process as well as to enhance the quantity of education delivery. We have several independent, isolated collaborations with various Australian universities, departments and all that. But this particular initiative, which we have been deliberating, which we have been considering for the last 1 year, is in 3 major areas. 1, training of teachers through information and communication technology, large number of teachers. 2, a collaboration between the School of Law of this university and the Law Department of the Queensland University of Technology in intellectual property rights and a number of other programs. And 3, a major program, a dual PhD degree program of Queensland University of Technology and Indira Gandhi National Open University. These are the 3 major programs which we are launching today. There is no need of emphasizing the importance of using technology in a country like India. Scaling up is the real challenge for each and every one of us. This country, for the knowledge of the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, has passed a historic bill in the last session of the Parliament. I understand that the Honorable Minister for HRD, Mr. Kapil Sibal, I met him yesterday. He told me that he had a discussion with you early morning yesterday. This bill is Right to Education Bill. That means this country now constitutionally obliged to provide free and compulsory education to all children between the age group 6 and 14. Of course, we had universalization of primary education as a policy earlier. Universalization of secondary education is happening as a policy, but now it's a bill, already a bill is passed. Yesterday we had the meeting of the state education ministers in this country along with the Union Minister for HRD. We have taken a resolve to provide training for 2 million teachers in the next 3 years. Additionally, 2 million new teachers. That is the requirement. We have several universities in this country, over 300 universities, 20,000 colleges, open universities like this 13. We have, with all these education institutions, we have millions of schools. With all these education institutions, there is a lot of gap, educational gap. For example, the gross enrollment ratio in higher education in this country is even now 10%, in contrast to the world average of 27%. So we are trying to make use of technology to bridge all these gaps. When it comes to higher education, school education and collegiate education, these gaps are there. But there is also a very alarming gap regarding qualified, skilled people in the work sector. Only 5% of the workforce in this country has some sort of a certified qualification. We are looking at all these areas. As Open University, Indira Gandhi National Open University, through its over 2,500 centers, physical centers in this country and several hundred centers outside the country, we are looking at all these aspects. And technology in this country has large number of high technology institutions. The Indian Institute of Technology, the Indian Institute of Management, the National Institutes of Technology, and in the information and communication technology sector, this country has made a real progress by way of providing large number of people all over the world. And we want to make use of this technology for enhancing the reach of education in our country, and also to enhance the quality of the teaching learning process. We have initiated several programs, and these 3 programs are going to be launched by way of collaboration with Queensland University of Technology. Let me welcome the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister of Australia, Ms. Gillard, for this very important initiative. She is the Deputy Prime Minister. She is also the Minister for Education and Employment and Workplace Relations. That is the name of her ministry. She has been a very eminent politician in Australia, and she is committed to improve the relations, improve the economic and education relations with this country. And according to the Australian press reports a few days back, she expressed desire to, I quote the Australian press, to reinforce Australia's image as a culturally diverse and a safe country for Indian students, business people, and other visitors. It is very important in this context. We hear something about our students' problems, Indian students' problems in Australia. I'm very glad that she has taken very bold initiatives to see that our students are really protected there. And as a university, as a Vice Chancellor representing 2.2 million Indian students, it is very important, Honourable Minister, that you take this initiative. We congratulate you. You made yesterday also you made a statement about the registration, new rule of registration for the students, and these are all really welcome initiatives. Let me welcome once again the Honourable Minister for this very important function. We have also the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Queensland University of Technology, Professor Arun Sharma, with us. This particular collaboration is looked after by Professor Arun Sharma, and let me welcome Professor Arun Sharma for this very important activity. Dr. Sheil Nona, who was working in the Australian High Commission earlier, now he is Director for South Asia, Queensland University of Technology. He has also worked in vocational education, and he has worked in Indian educational institutions. He is coordinating this particular activity with Indira Gandhi National Open University. Let me welcome Dr. Sheil Nona for this function. We have also with us Mr. Peter Varghese, High Commissioner Designate. He is among the audience. He is said to present his credentials again. He is attending this function. Let me welcome you, sir, also for this very important activity. I welcome Mrs. Lisa Paul, who has been helping the coordination of this particular collaboration. I also welcome the faculty members from the Department of Education, Queensland University of Technology, who have been working with Indira Gandhi National Open University for realization of this particular program. I welcome each and every one of my colleagues and the distinguished invitees for this important function of the launch of the various Indo-Australian initiatives. This is only a beginning, and we look forward to meaningful collaboration with Queensland University of Technology and many other prominent universities. Yesterday I was just seeing the report of the top 100 universities in the world. Eight of them are from Australia. 8 of them are Australia. Definitely we are looking forward to collaboration with prominent universities in all areas of collaboration. And we are also in dialogue with the Australian government for collaboration in the area of national qualification framework. Australia is a country which has successfully established a national qualification framework, and India is looking forward to developing a national qualifications and skills framework, and Indira Gandhi National Open University is one of the partners in developing this particular activity. We look forward to several such collaborations individually from our various departments as well as institutionally with Australian institutions for providing quality education in quantity to large number of our people in this country. Once again, welcome all of you. I welcome the invitees from the printed and electronic media for this very important activity. Thank you very much.
Before inviting Professor Arun Sharma to deliver his address, a very brief introduction. Professor Arun Sharma is the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Commercialization at the Queensland University of Technology. He has played a leadership role in development of Australian research capability in information and communication technology. He was co-founder of the National ICT Australia Limited, NICTA, Australia's National Centre of Excellence, and was the inaugural director of its largest research laboratory. Prior to establishing NICTA, he was the head of the School of Computer Science and Engineering at the University of New South Wales, where he co-founded the Cooperative Research Centre for Smart Internet Technology. He is currently the president of the Australia-India Business Council, Queensland chapter, and serves on several boards and advisory bodies. May I now request Professor Arun Sharma to deliver his address on this occasion. Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Julia Gillard, Professor Pillai, Vice Chancellor of IGNOU, Lisa Paul, Secretary of the Department of Employment, Education and Workplace Relations, Mr. Peter Varghese, High Commissioner Designate to India, and Dr. Srivatsan, Pro Vice Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here representing my Vice Chancellor, Professor Peter Coldrake, who would love to be here, but he is also the chair of Universities Australia, the similar counterpart to the Association of Indian Universities, which is having a plenary meeting. He conveys his greetings and he conveys his regards and the excitement that this collaboration is bringing. Queensland University of Technology is a university for the real world. It actually addresses issues that are facing society, issues that create opportunity. And one of the defining themes of QUT is to combine excellence and scale. It is easy to achieve excellence. You can be highly selective. It is easy to get scale because you can always make things available to everyone. But how do you do it in a way that maintains quality and standards is something that QUT values. And this collaboration is a testimony to what QUT is trying to achieve. We looked around the world for institutions that combine that scale and quality, and IGNOU is by far the most important institution that we found. How do we achieve that? Being a university of technology, of course, the use of information and communication technology becomes extremely important in providing this collaboration. So what we plan to do is look at some of the issues that are facing Indian society, look at some of the issues that are facing Australian society, look at some of the things that QUT is doing well, and figure out a way to scale up. So there are three components to this collaboration. The first one, of course, is the assistance with the primary school education program. And the second component is a intellectual property law program where we provide information about the intellectual property training of professionals and non-professionals. And the third is looking at the challenge that is facing human capital for scaling up the India's university system. So if India is to scale up its university system, it will require PhD-trained scientists and academicians. And if we can use IGNOU to scale up this activity, then we are contributing to India. But it is not just about contributing to India. Australia and KUT are gaining much in the process. The problems in India are all there in Australia. They're only on a much smaller scale. What this collaboration gives us is the extreme end of some of these problems. And when you face the extreme end of these problems, you actually are forced to come up with innovative solutions. So we definitely see the collaboration leading to solutions which will benefit Australia, will be adopted in Australia. And this is the reason why we value this collaboration. It is extremely important that we do this very well. I have a personal story, and the program that is one of the most important ones is the primary school teacher education. I was born in Bihar, and this program actually is trialing out initially on a few 100,000 teachers in the state of Bihar. I was product of the Bihar school system in the very early stages. The principal was the person who made the difference. The school was an extremely good one. And obviously it was clear that that level of leadership and the quality of teaching was not available in all the schools. Now, when this project started coming up, I actually felt a conflict of interest. In the poverty-rich culture that Australia is, I actually neither encouraged the project nor discouraged it. I just let it take its course of action. And it is a testimony to Dr. Sheil Nuna and Professor Kartin Lee, Professor of Education at KUT, please stand up, Kartin, that has made this project a success. If we make this work, we will be able to scale it to a significantly larger numbers. And Deputy Prime Minister, my Vice Chancellor will not forgive me if I did not say that we'll be looking for you to assist us in scaling this up to the next level. It is something that we are very proud of. It is something that we see we can contribute in a very small way to India's capacity building. But in turn, we will benefit because the problems, the challenges, the talent that is here is going to help us achieve some of these goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We would now like to request Dr. Sheil Nuna to make a presentation on strategic initiatives. Dr. Nuna is Director South Asia of the Queensland University of Technology. He has played a key role in positioning Australian education and research in India at the Australian International Education Foundation, now named Australia Education International. During his tenure at NEPA, he was closely associated with the development of the National Policy in Education 1986 and its review in 1992. Over to you, Dr. Nuna. Thank you.
The Honorable Deputy Prime Minister of Australia, Ms. Julia Gillard, Professor V.N.R. Pillai, Vice Chancellor, Indira Gandhi National Open University, Ms. Lisa Paul, Secretary of the Australian Government Department of Education, Employment and Workplace Relations, Mr. Peter Verghese, Australian High Commissioner to India Designate, my colleagues, Professor Arun Sharma, Professor Kartin Lee, my former colleagues, Quinton and Ray Kelly, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Srivatsan, media, and guests. It is indeed a pleasure and honor to speak at the function at IGNOU, with which I have a historic association as a member of the steering committee, which recommended the establishment of the Indira Gandhi National Open University in 1985. During these years, IGNOU has transformed itself from a traditional distance education provider to an institution gearing to take up national challenges of capacity building in an open learning system. These challenges can best be addressed through collaboration and partnerships, which bring in a variety of experiences. The Queensland University of Technology has joined hands with IGNOU to work together to jointly address the challenges of capacity building in a way that address the issue of access, equity, and quality together. With new demands of professional education and training increasing day by day, it is becoming evident that the new approaches to teaching and learning processes, new pedagogic tools, as well as content upgradation are needed to make learning experience most rewarding. And precisely, this is the precise thrust of this QUT-IGNOU collaboration. Diploma in primary education has become very critical in the context of the Education Act as part of India's endeavor to attain the goal of universal primary education. Primary school teacher training is crucial, and the extent to which this training is effective will have a bearing on the way primary school classrooms will be transformed, particularly in the rural India. QUT-IGNOU partnership in this program endeavors to build this program in a way that the training is transformed from teaching to new learning experience with content that is most relevant in the changing times. Digitization of the content which has been achieved will help in periodic revision so that at any given point of time, the program will remain always updated. The dual degree doctoral program for the RTH is a unique initiative which will build the research capabilities of both institutions and will benefit research students with the strength of research supervisors both at the Queensland University of Technology and Indira Gandhi National Open University. This is bound to strengthen the analytical capabilities of the students as they will be exposed to the research environment and culture of the two different countries and two different universities. While the program is aimed at RTH, it is our endeavor that the research students at Queensland University of Technology will also take advantage of this initiative. Both institutions have made significant resource commitments so that the program runs very smoothly. Master's program in Intellectual Property Law is the first program of IGNOU, which is being delivered exclusively online. Our faculties have worked together to design the program in such a way so as to even the students of non-law background will be able to undertake this program. With complexities around the intellectual property issues, this program has been able to capture these nuances and converted them into content so that its graduates are able to handle the demands of the industry in an effective way. Partnership between open learning system and a general education institution is not a simple task. There are divergent views on the delivery of education and at the same time have to deal with the attitude of the faculties, which is not always very congenial. There is always a risk that this partnership, instead of becoming a mutually rewarding experience, can become a painful experience. I am happy to say that the faculties at both the institutions have found common ground and discovered mutual strength. It is this commonality which is shaping this relationship. It has taken more than a year, but we are happy that we are moving towards our mission of working together to achieve these goals. We are aware that only those partnerships that are built on non-commercial motives and have a common goal are sustained in the long run. We are also aware that Australia-India collaboration in education is an incipient phenomenon and there is a long way to go. We therefore see this IGNOU-QUT partnership as a step towards building a strong bilateral relationship. I must mention here that Professor Pillai has been a strong supporter of building partnership with Australia. In my previous role at AAI, I had the pleasure of working with him when he was the Director of National Assessment and Accreditation Council and then the Vice Chairman of the University Grant Commission. Thank you, Professor Pillai, for your unshakable support for building this India-Australia partnership in education. At the end, I take this opportunity to thank all those who have worked very hard to make this relationship fruitful, meaningful, and mutually rewarding. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let us now view a short visual presentation on the highlights of the diploma in primary education.
University. provides training for 1.4 million students across India through a vast network of regional study centers and cluster resource centers. Indira Gandhi National Open University provides training for 1.4 million students across India through a vast network of regional study centers and cluster resource centers. In particular, IGNOU services the country's need for well-trained professional primary teachers. In remote areas, this training has been offered via the use of traditional distance education, printed materials sent to students by post. But in this model, the progress of the student is dependent on teacher guidance. There is an absence of face-to-face interaction, and the quality of counselling sessions is variable. Now, QUT, the Queensland University of Technology in Australia, is proud to be collaborating with IGNOU to develop a new model of online learning, tailored especially to India's unique demands. For the first time ever, Indian students will have access to an online learning management system, or LMS, which contains all of their course content in digitized form. The content itself has also been enhanced, and a new pedagogical paradigm has been developed. And an effective training program has been created to support academic counsellors and practitioners in implementing this new model all across the IGNOU network. The potential for positive change is enormous. The key to this model is the LMS. As a tool for distance learning, an LMS can both store course content, which students can access at their own convenience, and serve as a multi-purpose communication tool between students, their peers, and their teachers. Of course, online delivery will not fully replace paper-based delivery, as there are still many remote regions in India without reliable internet access.
At QUT, like 70% of universities in Australia, we put all our learning materials on a learning management system called Blackboard. With Blackboard, I can produce, distribute and revise learning materials quickly and efficiently. Assessment and feedback is also handled effectively. Students use Blackboard to read and reread lecture notes at a time that's convenient to them. They can peruse critical online texts like journal articles. They can click on real-world examples. They can listen to podcasts. They can view podcasts. They can also communicate with other students and lecturers. They can also participate in blogs, wikis and discussion forums.
QUT has also revised and enhanced old IGNOU course materials and developed a new pedagogical paradigm which takes full advantage of the potential which an LMS offers.
We have made the content more current and added a higher level of interactivity into the curriculum, which would not have been available to the students had they been working from paper-based materials. For IGNOU, this enhanced pedagogical model will be very flexible and can be adapted to the varying degrees of technology available across India. Online learning or e-learning is no longer simply associated with remote learning or distance education. University administrators and academics need to make a conscious choice about the best and most appropriate ways of promoting effective learning.
To facilitate the successful implementation of this new model of online learning, effective instructional strategies are also critical.
QUT has support systems available to the academic counsellors at IGNOU. This will assist them in learning the new system. As with all systems, it takes time for staff to learn. Even within Australia, it's taken our staff some time to learn the system, embrace it, and then incorporate it into their teaching and learning. Once they have embraced the technology, it takes their teaching and learning to a new level.
This groundbreaking approach to distance learning in India is the result of a partnership between two institutions that will contribute to a higher standard of education well into India's bright future.
I deem it a privilege to introduce the Honourable Julia Gillard, MP, Deputy Prime Minister of Australia, to this learned audience. A specialist in industrial law, the Honourable Julia Gillard is Australia's first woman and first foreign-born Deputy Prime Minister. She is also the highest ranked woman politician in Australian history. As we mentioned before, but I feel we should really emphasize that she holds, as a woman, holding 3 distinct portfolios: Minister of Education, Minister for Employment and Workplace Relations, Minister for Social Inclusion. She lends her powerful support to India as a dependable partner in education. She remains an ardent advocate of the Fair Work Bill and affirmative action for participation of women in leadership and governance. She is a highly regarded parliamentarian and leader. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Honourable Julia Gillard. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you very much for that introduction and that welcome, and can I say it's a great pleasure to be here and to join friends from India and friends from Australia for this very special launch. Can I say to the Vice-Chancellor, it's been a pleasure to spend some time with you this morning talking about the work that you do at this great university. And it's also great to be joined here by my Australian colleagues from the Queensland University of Technology for this very special launch. And of course, it would be remiss of me to not note that we are meeting at a university named for India's first and only female Prime Minister. I also note that apart from bearing a great name, this is a university that is changing literally millions of lives, not only in India, but around the world. You are the world's largest open university, and that's something to be very proud of, bringing the power of education right through India and to many nations beyond India. The collaboration that we're celebrating today with the Queensland University of Technology is an excellent opportunity for both Australians and Indians to demonstrate what working together can achieve. We're working together to meet the education and training needs of students today and students tomorrow. Today's launch reinforces Australia's commitment to support the Indian government's national education and training objectives. India's Education for All initiative resonates with us in Australia and particularly resonates with me. Australia, like India, values education and values its role in building our communities. In particular, Australia shares India's interest in the fundamental role that basic education plays in helping people to reach their full potential. Without basic education, obviously the world of learning is locked away beyond access. It's so important. In our own country, to demonstrate our belief in the power of education, the government is committed to an education revolution. We are investing billions of dollars in building infrastructure, in furthering early childhood education, improving the quality and equity of primary and secondary school education, investing in information and communications technology, and investing in our vocational education and training and universities. In my meeting yesterday with India's Minister for Human Resource Development, Minister Sibal, I learnt about the exciting and challenging objectives of your new Right to Education Act. Providing free and compulsory education for all children aged 6 to 14 years will be a tremendous challenge for India, but it's essential if every child is to be able to enjoy your country's growing prosperity. This joint project between this university and Queensland's University of Technology is a great example of how we can work together and share some of our experiences in building education systems that are designed to deliver outcomes and change. I've got no doubt that the Queensland University of Technology's commitment to share knowledge with you, to develop practical real-world solutions for the growing teacher training needs of India will make a difference. And of course, the Queensland University of Technology is well placed to participate in this important initiative and this partnership. Its education faculty provides the largest pre-service teacher education program in Australia for both undergraduate and graduate entry students. And of course, the Queensland University of Technology is bringing that special expertise to bear in this new partnership. As we've seen from the visual presentation and from the addresses you've already heard today, this is a partnership aimed at driving a new round of teacher training in particular to meet India's needs as its training and education system expands. It's practical, it's cost effective, it's capable of being delivered at scale, and consequently it will make a real difference. And that's why I'm very glad to be here personally to show my support for this joint program. I am confident that it will make a real difference and help address the needs of primary schools in provinces across India, and consequently help with the education of Indian students today for the world that they will encounter tomorrow. I congratulate the Queensland University of Technology and of course this university, the Indira Gandhi National Open University, on this initiative. I declare it formally launched and I wish you every success with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the wonderful insights that you have shared with this audience. May I now request Honourable Vice-Chancellor Professor V.N. Rajshekharan Pillai to present a memento as a token of respect and appreciation to the Honourable Julia Gillard, MP, Deputy Prime Minister of Australia. Thank you. May I now request Professor K.R. Srivatsan, Pro Vice-Chancellor IGNOU, to present a memento to Professor Arun Sharma, Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Queensland University of Technology. I now request our Research and Teaching Assistant, Ifat Beg, to present a memento to Dr. Sheel Noona. May I now request Professor K.R. Srivatsan to propose a vote of thanks. Thank you, sir.
Good morning to all of you. It's my pleasant duty and a privilege to propose to all concerned my heartfelt thanks for this curtain raiser occasion of launching this Indo-Australian initiatives. Today, with the world being so close to each other, forming web communities and managing programs, collaborations across institutions is likely to be the way forward to proceed. In proposing this, indeed, it's our great privilege that a person no less than the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister of Australia has come forward to give this movement a great trust. And I know when things begin well, the assurance of success is that much better. And indeed, Madam, we really thank you for having taken this personal initiative to come here and be in our midst between the Indira Gandhi National Open University and Queensland University. I suppose it's not going to be just these two universities, who using these two universities as the windows for the entire education system across both the countries. Thank you indeed very much. Well, It's difficult to really say merely thanks to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Rajsekharan Pillai. I am reminded of a quotation I can take from Solzhenitsyn, Alexander Solzhenitsyn, in his book Gulag Archipelago. He says, when opportunity comes and knocks at your door, its taps are no louder than one's heart's whisper. Somehow, I have seen time and again our Vice Chancellor having the right ears to somehow pick up these whispers and really convert the opportunities into movements of action. Thank you indeed, Professor Rajsekharan Pillai, for this honor. On this occasion, it's a privilege that the Queensland University is represented by its Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Arun Sharma. I exchanged just a little note. One of my very close friend and family colleague, Professor Arindam Ghosh, is working in his university, and we are still on Skype chats every other occasion. Okay, thank you indeed for coming forward. And Dr. Sheil Nuna and Professor Kartin Lee require special appreciation because they have been the persuasive force to make this occasion happen. Indeed, thanks to both of you, one from the Queensland University side, other from the representative as the director of the South Asia initiatives of Queensland University. Thanks indeed, Dr. Sheil Nuna, for this, and I believe we have many more occasions to sit and work out the minute details and pay attention to a many number of things. I look forward to working with you closely, and of course Professor Kaul and the School of Education, because we all have to understand the dynamics of the emerging times and slowly get out of the 20th century attitude and walk into the emerging web collaborative worlds of tomorrow. Thank you indeed, Professor Kaul, also for having come forward. It's also my privilege to give my sincere thanks to my fellow Pro-Vice Chancellors, Professor O.P. Mishra, Professor D.K. Chaudhary, Professor Dr. Lata Pillai, for coming here personally and be present on this occasion. Thank you indeed all. And our registrar, the distinguished colleagues of IGNOU here, the participants of this occasion, the research and training assistants, the engineers and professionals who manage our IT programs. There are so many to be thanked, and in view of the time shortage of our Honorable Deputy Prime Minister here, I really thank you one and all for coming forward and be personally present. I also wish to say that IGNOU has launched a whole new set of open e-learning platforms which complement much beyond the blackboard in a way, because IGNOU's challenges are quite different from the learning management system platforms. I am personally leading that with a team of people and also a team of fellow colleagues of the departments here. So there is much to share and learn what indeed is e-learning, particularly when you have to manage it from 1,000 study centers, and how do you recast e-learning in a workable framework. So there is much to exchange. I'm looking forward to all the excitement of the emerging times to learn and contribute and make ourselves true leaders as learning organizations across the two parties. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, sir. We have the pleasure of having several members of the electronic and print media. We would now like to invite brief media interaction. But, yes.
Thank you very much for that question. We obviously, as a government and as a nation, have got zero tolerance for violence against Indian students or indeed anyone who visits our country. From the incidents that you would have read about earlier this year, we have responded with increased policing and police patrols in areas of our cities, particularly Melbourne and Sydney, where those incidents occurred. So more visible policing and more police. Beyond that, as a government, we want to work with Indian students and the Indian community to support student welfare issues. We have a body called the Council of Australian Governments, which brings together our national leaders, our Prime Minister and the Premier of each state in the Australian Commonwealth. They are working together with a student welfare task force to better support Indian students and international students who visit us. When I return to Australia, I will meet with a round table of students, including Indian students, to talk to them directly about any concerns they may have. We're also supporting our national legislation on international education and changing it for the future. Already that legislation guarantees that if an Indian student comes to our country and the college that they study at closes, they have a guarantee of getting a comparable place or having their fees refunded. We are strengthening arrangements so that everyone who provides education to international students will need to go through a quality audit process and re-register. That will occur and is already occurring in Australia. It will occur for the rest of this year and into next year. What that means is overwhelmingly we've got a very high quality education system, and your Vice-Chancellor generously mentioned the number of Australian universities that are ranked highly in the world. We want to make sure, to the extent that there is anyone not doing the right thing, that through this process of re-registration they are closed and taken out of providing education. So these measures are there to support our international education system and to support Indian students. My all-up message is that Indian students are very welcome in our country. Australia is a very safe, tolerant, multicultural society. We very much welcome people visiting us and studying with us. And from talking to students who have come to our country, overwhelmingly they say that they've enjoyed their time there and that they've got a great quality education. We want to build on that for the future, and that was part of my discussions with your Minister yesterday, taking our collaboration on education to an even deeper stage. And that's why I'm here this morning too, talking about this collaboration, which I think is a very good part of the kind of exchange and support India and Australia can provide each other. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sparing the time to take a few questions. I now request the audience to remain seated as our regional centers sign off. Thank you to our dignitaries and audience at our regional centers spread across the country. It has been wonderful going through this experience together. Thank you so much. May I now request the audience and the dignitaries to join us for refreshments at the end of this function. Thank you very much, Honourable Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister. Thank you.
This movement of water between land, the oceans and the air is called the water cycle. And it is through this water cycle that the Earth's supply of fresh water, essential for living things, is replenished. Rainfall and other forms of precipitation like snow, hail,